How does it look for the NDC?
It's wonderful. I mean, the NDC is delivering. I don't think anybody wants to be left behind in this process. But beyond that, I think that the process to get us here has proven beyond a doubt that there were a lot of manipulations. There was an attempt to wrangle the seat unfairly from the victor. So I think that we already know what's, and people are determined that not under their watch will something like that happen. I think that whoever was complacent before is determined to vote and make their voices heard and make sure that Irabna is in Parliament speaking for us as the people of Ablekuma North deserve.
I mean, Honorable, the crux of this issue, the reason for this election rerun had to do with the difficulty in authenticating some of the results from the polling stations. Both the NPP and NEC have accused each other of destroying pink sheets and what have you. And in fact, you in the 2024 parliamentary election was one of the people who was at the center of the aftermath of controversy surrounding the election. What is the NDC's own strategy going into this rerun to ensure that you address some of these concerns you had raised earlier?
Well, very interestingly, I think that overall the NDC was very good in managing the 2024 elections. Across board, we held our ground. I think that going forward, the NDC needs to realize that no seat is impossible. And so we all need to be giving as much support as we need for elections. So let me explain. Some of us, by virtue of history, and the conditions that persist in our constituencies might be very strong candidates, might be the preferred candidates, but our political architecture and the need for enhancements which do not come probably compromises us. So let me explain. You know that definitely here there might be a stronger MPP.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now you have a candidate that is strong and is popular and is the people's choice. But if you don't beef up that architecture, if you treat every constituency as equal, then we might not be able to survive. And that is what Ablekuma North has proven. So I personally have been an advocate for this because I've been standing in Tema Central since 2016. So I think I'm one of the most persistent in this particular issue. And beyond this, I think that a lot more people are qualified and interested in making and putting the same point across. So the NDC will only get stronger and stronger. This case for me is just to clarify what the issues are in terms of protecting the people's mandate, and we will step up to the responsibility.
No, but some say the NDC is capitalizing incumbency to their advantage in this rerun. In fact, some have argued that, right from the get-go, when President John Dramani Mahama was winner for the presidential race, the ND in Ablekuma North has been advocating for a rerun instead of completion of the collation process.
Well, we tried to complete the collation process. How did that go? In full glare of your cameras. I mean, if completion means that we should allow illegalities and stealing and thievery to go on, no government is going to sit down and ignore its responsibility to the people, except a government that is interested in stealing from the people. Excuse me to say, it was obvious from what we've inherited that that was the way to go. You all saw what was happening through our electoral process. When they had the authority, what did they do with it? They made a sham of our political process. So if the expectation is that the NDC's incumbency will create a situation where the wrongs are righted, then so be it.
But is it right to abuse incumbency?
How are we abusing it? So that's why I'm asking you. We weren't in charge when Ablekuma North tried to collate those results as your people were advocating. If I say your people, those people, it's not personal. Okay. As those people were advocating for, collate. It's not about collating. Collate what? If the collation is based on falsifications, should it continue? Well, we tried to go that way. Is it the NDC's incumbency and power that stopped the process? The EC couldn't continue because they couldn't authenticate the results. So it is not an issue of incumbency that forced this elections into a rerun. It is the fact that there was no other option. And we knew that already. because we're not going to sit down and force illegalities to happen.
Honorable, not to interject, but you know, the EC, when the Electoral Commission was summoned to Parliament, they actually stated categorically that, not to quote them verbatim, but there was no need for a rerun if, I mean, all the materials were available and what have you. In fact, there were just about 3 polling stations that were under contention, but now we are voting.
No.
But there were less than 19 police stations
No.
were under contention.
No. At the time collation stopped, there were about 30-something. Back-end negotiations with the
resumed
with the parties present. No, okay. Unresolved were 19. Unresolved were 19. Unresolved were 19. And they felt there were other ways to resolve those issues, and then maybe only 3 were a must to rerun. You understand what I'm saying? But if those negotiations don't work, so for example, in Tema Central, there were about 16 pink sheets with severe irregularities. We negotiated through some of them and say, okay, ignore this, until we got to 4 where you'd have to be brain dead to ignore. Do you understand? If somebody just takes a piece of paper, okay, we fill pink sheets in triplicates or duplicates and whatever, quadruplicates. If you take a pink sheet and the information on the original, supposed original, is different from each duplicate and all of those things, I mean, there's no name, there's no polling station, there's this. Do you understand? How does that become a pink sheet? I don't know if you understand. Things that identify this pink sheet,
absolutely,
polling station. If those things are not on the pink sheet and everybody has a different copy, including the original and the photocopy, how do you collate that kind of thing? So that is my point. There are some that are irredeemable. You see, so those are what the discussions and the negotiations arrive at.
Okay, so
and in this process, it's not the incumbency. The incumbency can insist and that the right thing is done, because executive power has been abused in a very recent past. You understand what I'm saying? If it could have been abused to its maximum, it would have been done in this case as well. But the numbers were too huge. In my case, the numbers were only 4. So they felt that they could override it. But how do you override 30-something?
Yeah, Honorable, in fact, the NDC have had issues with the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
On record, a time without number.
Yes.
Do you think that if the NDC were still in opposition, yes, this rerun would have still happened?
It would have had to happen, because like I said, this situation in Ablekuma North, just like mine, even mine, at least they declared somebody. Here they couldn't declare anybody. And that's what I want you to understand. That didn't happen under NDC. If they could have declared somebody under MPP, they would have declared.
So does a rerun settle your issues with the EC?
Well, if that's the decision that the EC has taken, we're rerunning. We didn't make that decision, but it was clear on the surface of the issue and on the bottom and on the sides that there was no remedy for the situation. You understand what I'm saying? If there's no remedy, you have to rerun. I mean, it's not as if we are inventing that remedy. That is the remedy that is available for situations such as this.
Honorable, what's the assurance that this election, I mean, you are a key member of this administration, this government, you are a mayor for an assembly as big as Tema and what have you. What's the assurance that this process will end peacefully? So far as the NDC or government is concerned.
It will end peacefully because the results, the process will be transparent, the results will be transparent. We're ready to accept, the outcome of these elections. Because you see, we have no excuse to say that we've not put in our all. The rerun might not be the most favorable decision, but we stepped up to it to do what we must do, because that's the decision of the Electoral Commission in a situation where no other option works. So for us, we're going to play by the rules. We're going to make sure that there's transparency. If the playing field is fair, we have no choice but to abide by the rules. But you see, the great thing is that when you're winning. And all the conditions are clear. So,
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very
much,
my darling.
Thank you so much. That's the mayor or the Metropolitan Chief Executive for Tema, E.B. Bright, who was also the NDC's parliamentary candidate for Tema Central in the 2024 election. Well, it's quite a mammoth year, if I'm not to express myself in an hyperbole, but the